Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Travel Trends and Pricing Strategies to Help Drive Booking Conversion. My name is Gavin Wadsworth, Hospitality Researcher and Content Writer at ResNexus, and presenting today is Rebecca Sharp, Senior Market Manager at Airbnb. She'll be presenting on some recent travel trends, as well as new Airbnb features. Thanks so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks everyone today. I really appreciate the invitation from Gavin and the ResNexus team, and I'm really excited to present to you today. So today we're going to cover some recent travel trends, Airbnb categories, which you may have heard about or seen, opportunities via discounting. ResNexus is going to demo their new Airbnb discounts feature, and then we're going to answer some of the questions that you submitted in advance. Now, if we don't address any questions that you might have during the webinar, please don't worry, because we're going to provide you with an email address at the end of the presentation where you can send any of your outstanding questions. So we've got a lot to cover today. Let's go ahead and jump right in. The pandemic pushed us into what is probably one of the loneliest times in human history, and we believe that travel is the antidote. The pandemic has led all generations to experience a serious crisis of connection. People have been isolated on a scale never seen before, and they want to come together. We've seen a resurgence of travel to nearby destinations, smaller towns, and vacation markets. And some of you might be experiencing this resurgence yourselves. As the pandemic has stretched on, however, we've noticed an even more systemic change in travel, beyond just the shift to whole homes in non-urban markets. For those who are able to work remotely, the longer the pandemic has lasted, the more working and living have blurred together, and the more permanent this way of working and living has become. In fact, a 7,500 consumer survey that we commissioned across 5 countries in September of last year found that 63% of all respondents have come to expect more flexibility from their employers. And employers around the world are taking note and doubling down on more flexible working arrangements. The travel recovery is becoming a travel revolution. Propelled by the flexibility created by remote work, travel is undergoing a fundamental change. The world is never going back to the way it was in 2019, and that means travel is never going back to the way it was either. The world has changed, and in 2022, people are traveling differently than they ever have before. Zoom and similar services are the latest technological innovations to disrupt travel. But unlike trains and ships or cars and planes, Zoom and platforms like it have upended the entire case for travel. In some cases, it ended the need for travel, like business travel. But with that, enabled new ways to travel, like letting remote workers and their families live and travel anywhere. And employees are taking advantage of their newfound flexibility, setting up their office anywhere and everywhere their Wi-Fi will allow, from the kitchen table at a neighborhood Airbnb to a bucket list beach across the globe. People can travel anytime. In today's world, people are demonstrating increased flexibility about where and when they can travel. 2 years since the pandemic began, a new world of travel has emerged. Millions of people are now more flexible about where they live and where they work. And as a result, they're spreading out to thousands of towns and cities, staying for weeks, months, or even entire seasons at a time. So to respond to this increased desire for travel flexibility, last year we introduced I'm Flexible, and it's a whole new way to search on Airbnb when guests are flexible about where or when they're traveling. I'm Flexible was designed to serve a world in which people have become untethered from the traditional office. And with remote and hybrid work here to stay, travelers are no longer bound by weekends, holidays, or seasonal breaks. With increased flexibility, we've also seen users book homes in less popular places, not just the usual destinations. In Q1 2022, our top 10 cities represented 8% of revenue, which was down from 12% in Q1 2019. And when guests diversify their destinations, they also spread host earnings more widely. A fun data point to share here, our I'm Flexible search feature has already been used over 2 billion times. Another trend that we've seen is that travel length of stay patterns are changing. We're not just seeing long weekend trips anymore. As we've talked about previously, as people work from home and can travel anytime, longer stays are turning traveling into living. In fact, in Q1 2022, long-term stays, which are considered anything over 28 nights, remained Airbnb's fastest growing trip length category. Long-term stays were at an all-time high in Q1 of 2022, more than doubling in size from Q1 2019. And they continue to represent around 1 in every 5 nights booked. In addition, nearly half of nights booked on Airbnb in Q1 2022 were for 1 week or more. And our hosts are responding to this demand for longer stays by adopting weekly and monthly discounting in order to be better positioned to capture the demand for longer stays. And we'll talk more about that later. Looking ahead, we see strong, sustained pent-up demand. At the end of April 22, we had 30% more nights booked for the summer travel season than at this time in 2019. And the growth from 2019 is higher the further we look out this year. So let's look at some additional trends that we've seen. People have spread out to towns and cities, and they've stayed for weeks, months, or even longer. 100,000 towns and cities around the world have had an Airbnb booking during the pandemic. 6,000 places had their first ever Airbnb booking. And we continue to see this trend persist, with domestic and short distance travel remaining more popular in 2022 than it was in 2019. In Q1 2022, non-urban gross nights booked increased 80% compared to Q1 2019, while domestic gross nights booked also increased 65% compared to Q1 2019. More people have started living abroad, others have traveled for the entire summer, and some have even become digital nomads. People have wanted to explore new countries. Before the pandemic, international arrivals exploded from just 25 million in the year 1950 to more than 1.4 billion in 2019. Gross nights booked for cross-border travel recovered to 2019 levels in Q1 of 2022. And as more countries continue to reduce travel restrictions, we expect a continued recovery of cross-border travel. And also, the share of Airbnb long-term stay bookers who use their stays to lead a nomadic lifestyle grew from 9% in 2020 to 12% in 2021. And cities and countries might compete to attract these remote workers, and it may lead to a redistribution of where people travel and live. More countries are changing their visa and tax rules, and more than 36 countries currently offer some sort of digital nomad visa program. In fact, Airbnb is already helping a range of urban and rural destinations let remote workers try living there, including in cities such as Chicago, Tucson, and Tulsa, and in West Virginia and northern Maine. Guests have searched for unique stays. Hosts around the world have been sharing their unique spaces on Airbnb for well over a decade. And guests have fallen for their one-of-a-kind stays, from domes and windmills to lighthouses and trains. In the past 2 years alone, from 2019 to 2021, nights booked at unique properties have increased globally by nearly 50%. With more guests booking unique stays, hosts are also earning real income, with unique listings earning nearly $1 billion just in 2021. In fact, globally, earnings by night and by traveler were higher for unique than for non-unique listings in 2021. And through Airbnb Categories launched this past May, it's easier than ever for guests to search unique listing types, connecting with unique homes and hosts they may have otherwise overlooked. The brand new OMG category, which has been clicked on over 2.5 million times since launch, also showcases the zaniest of all homes on the platform. And while treehouses and barns abound on Airbnb and are among the top 10 most booked unique listing types on the platform, it's tiny homes that take the top spot, proving that a little creativity can go a long way. In 2021, more than 2.5 million nights were booked in tiny homes alone. And when they're not booking, guests are daydreaming about unique getaways, adding countless inspired stays to their wish lists. In 2021, unique listings were added to almost 20 million wish lists worldwide. So the key takeaway is that travel is changing, and the great news is that Airbnb is changing with it. For the past 25 years, searching for travel online may have just been limited to typing a destination into a search box and selecting dates. But with the traditional search box, people may have missed most of the great properties and the incredible hosts who provide them. We want to change this by helping guests to discover millions of one-of-a-kind homes they wouldn't have known to search for. and by highlighting what makes these homes so special. So to do that, we introduced an all-new design built around Airbnb categories. When guests open Airbnb, they're no longer presented with a locked search experience. Now we present them over 50 categories that group homes into collections based on their unique style, location, or proximity to a travel activity. Categories showcase homes with amazing views or chef's kitchens, properties located on a lake or near a national park, homes with shared spaces, and homes that offer access to things like golfing or surfing. And by showcasing these homes, categories also showcase our amazing hosts who deliver memorable stays. The first thing they'll see is a selection of categories and listings within those categories based on seasons, their location, and interests. When guests search by a specific destination, they'll see results similar to the way they are today within a category called All Homes. They'll also see additional categories based on that location, helping guests to discover incredible homes within or just beyond their search area. And listings can appear in multiple categories. So if your Lake Tahoe home includes a chef's kitchen, the listing can appear in the lake category and the chef's kitchen category, in addition, of course, to the Lake Tahoe search results. A bit of an overview, as of May in this year, Airbnb categories included 4 million of our host homes, and this is growing every day. These categories showcase homes to more people and more places than ever before. And the benefits may be even stronger to hosts on Airbnb outside of the top tourist destinations, because categories make it easy for guests to discover unique homes in places they might not have otherwise looked. Since launch, listings in Airbnb categories have been viewed over 180 million times, and we've seen guests explore homes further apart in distance and search across longer date ranges than ever before. So you may be asking, how are categories curated? Well, homes in each category do go through a curation process. Millions of active listings on Airbnb are evaluated using machine learning to analyze titles, descriptions, photo captions, structured data from hosts, and reviews. So it's very important for hosts on Airbnb to make sure their listing information is up to date and complete. And it's also important to note that categories rely heavily on high quality photography. So we need to continue to stress the importance of great photos. Another question you may be asking is, can a host add their listing to a category? Well, there's no guarantee that any listing will be included, but to improve your chances, make sure your amenities and features are complete and current, and that key features of your space are clearly depicted with high quality photography. And it's also important to share that these categories are only the beginning, and we're going to continue to add more over time. I want to call out that since our summer release, we've gathered feedback from thousands of hosts about the changes. There have been many requests to bring back your ability to craft your own listing title. And we understand why hosts are so passionate about this issue. Your listing title is one of the first things guests read in search results, and it's an opportunity to highlight what makes your space unique. So originally, we removed custom titles to create uniform descriptions across Airbnb that make it easier for guests to view and compare stays. In some cases, longer titles stretched over several lines or included emojis that might not have been relevant to the listing. And these inconsistencies complicated searches and sometimes created a poor experience for guests. We understand that being able to write your own listing title is one of the ways you can make your home stand out. So host-written listing titles have returned to the search experience anytime a guest types a specific destination. Also in June, we published new guidelines for creating listing titles. So you may want to consider limiting your listing title to 32 characters, writing your titles in sentence case, and avoiding emojis or symbols. Most importantly, you may want to consider describing what makes your place one of a kind. Review counts have also returned and are visible next to your star rating in a destination-based search. And you'll notice the calendar is the default for all new searches instead of the I'm flexible option, as many guest searches are for specific dates. Hosts have also noted that they like the Airbnb categories, but want to be able to check which category their listings are in. And they're asked how listings can be added to additional categories. We launched categories with the belief that there will ultimately be a category for every listing. And we're glad to see that hosts have a lot of excitement for the new categories, as demonstrated by the many ideas that have been shared for additional categories, from things like sustainable homes and family-friendly listings to downtown properties and stays with remote office setups. In addition to collaborating with the host community to develop a process for creating new categories, we're exploring ways to let you check what category your listing may be in, and we'll provide details about that in the months ahead. So let's move on now to discounts and promotional options on Airbnb. And I'm going to walk you through the discounts and promotions you can apply to your listings, which may help to increase your booking conversion. Let's take a look at the merchandising options that you have that can help you execute on your strategy. Now, these promotions can now be set up via ResNexus. First, we have weekly and monthly stays. The discount only appears to guests looking for longer time ranges. The early bird promos are a really useful tool when you're trying to secure revenue in nights as far out as possible. And we have last minute discounts, which may help to attract guests booking closer in. So we'll start with length of stay discounting. As I mentioned previously, as people work from home and can travel anytime, longer stays are turning traveling into living. Again, in Q1 2022, remember, long-term stays, which are considered anything over 28 nights, remained Airbnb's fastest growing trip length category. And welcoming longer stays can be a smart hosting strategy. Listings that are open to bookings of 28 nights or more can out-earn those that aren't. Longer stays can also fill up your calendar faster, require less work from guest turnover, and provide greater hosting flexibility than shorter reservations. Bookings of 28 nights or more can also be favorable in communities that limit short-term rentals. And of course, you'll want to make sure that minimum and maximum stays that you set follow local rules and regulations. And one way to encourage these bookings is to offer weekly and monthly discounts. These discounts will be highlighted with a strike through and a call out in the pricing summary. Now on to early bird discounts. One way that may appeal to those that are searching for affordability while covering your bases with a strong foundation of bookings is to offer an early bird promo. Early bird promos allow you to offer a discount to guests who are searching at least 1 month prior to check-in. You can offer an early bird discount across all your listings or just target the discount based upon things like likelihood to book in advance or even larger listings. The discount and the call out to guests may help you to convert the listing earlier rather than at the last minute. So again, early bird discounts are also highlighted with a strike through and a call out in the pricing summary. And on to last minute discounts. Last minute discounts are a tool to promote availability within 0 to 28 days. And they can drive incremental nights and allow you to optimize revenue by capturing last minute demand and by filling in calendar gaps. And these can be particularly useful to make up any lost bookings from cancellations. Everyone experiences cancellations. And it's important to have a plan B in those cases, and last minute discounts can help fill those gaps. Got just one more, the new listing promotion. And while this promotion can't be applied via ResNexus and has to be applied in your Airbnb account, the new listing promotion allows hosts to easily offer a 20% discount to any eligible listings for the first 3 bookings. The promotion gives you the ability to merchandise discounts to guests, which is a great way to make these new listings stand out. Once you opt in, guests can book reservations occurring in the next 90 days to receive the discount on eligible listings. The discount expires for each enrolled listing after the 3rd promotional booking or 30 days after the promotion opt-in date, whichever comes first. So keep in mind, you can only opt in listings with 0 bookings and using Instant Book. And you can easily opt in via your Insight Stash. Just look for offer a 20% new listing promotion under your opportunities. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it back over to Gavin, and he's going to show you how to enable some of the promotions in ResNexus. Gavin, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that wonderful presentation. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to do the new Airbnb discounts within the ResNexus back office. So you simply go into your ResNexus settings and then scroll down to Direct Connect and go into your Airbnb channel. Go to Listings, and you select the listing you'd like to modify, and then you scroll down until you get to the Discounts section. And in here you can adjust your weekly stay discount. You can choose any percentage from 1% to 99%. And as you can see with this help icon, this is for trips between 7 and 28 days. And the discount must be less than the monthly discount right here. So this, again, you can select from the drop-down menu, choose any percentage. And for this one, this is for trips of 28 days or more. And of course, it must be greater than the weekly discount. The other two discounts we offer through Airbnb and ResNexus are the last minute discount. So this is a discount that's applied to bookings made within a certain number of days before the check-in date. And last is the early bird discount, kind of the opposite of the last minute discount. Again, you choose your percentage, and then you choose the number of days in advance of the check-in date that the discount applies to. So this is going to be 1 or more months before the arrival date for the reservation. And that's how you apply discounts for Airbnb and ResNexus. All right, so at this time, I'll go through a couple of our pre-submitted questions that we had. But first of all, I'd like to say that if you enjoyed this webinar, be sure to check out our catalog of past webinars by going to our website, and under the Education tab, you'll see Webinars. And on this page, you can watch our past webinars and register for upcoming webinars. Our next webinar is on Thursday, August 25th, Distance Yourself Through Selling Tactics, with Don Farrell from Fresh Revenues. In that presentation, you'll learn how to make more guest conversions and drive loyalty to your business. It's one you won't want to miss. And for ResNexus support, you can go to your settings menu and click the support button on the right. And here you can find your Red Carpet Professional contact information, as well as a general support line. All right, so now I'm going to go through a couple of pre-submitted questions that we have in regards to Airbnb and ResNexus. And the first one is, what is the smallest number of rental units to have as cost justified to use Airbnb with ResNexus? And the answer to that is it really depends on the kind of property. We do have subscribers who only have one listing on Airbnb, and that's really what works for them. So it's really a matter of perspective. And giving it a trial run with just one unit listed on Airbnb to see how it goes can be a good option. A good rule of thumb to follow is not to list 100% of your units on Airbnb and to have at least a couple in reserve. Another question we had was, how do Airbnb and ResNexus work together? So ResNexus shares rates, availability, minimum nights, blackout dates, and messaging with Airbnb in real time. And likewise, Airbnb shares bookings, cancellations, and messaging with ResNexus in real time. So basically, you can really operate from one login rather than having multiple ones. Airbnb doesn't manage checking guests in and out, so you can save time by doing everything within ResNexus itself. Another question we had was, how is dynamic pricing in ResNexus used to drive prices to Airbnb? So dynamic pricing in ResNexus includes minimum nights and yield management, both of which are shared through our direct connection to Airbnb. A really popular minimum nights requirement is that if the guest books for a Friday night, then they have to book that Saturday as well. Another popular rule is yield management based on occupancy, automatically increasing the price of your units to make more money during your peak season. You can also lower your rates during your slow season to help increase your occupancy. And it's all about keeping up with travel demand. And rules you set up in ResNexus are automatically posted in Airbnb as well. And then another question we had was, if there are changes made to a reservation with Airbnb and ResNexus, what happens? So when an Airbnb listing is connected to ResNexus, all changes to the listing are reflected in ResNexus. So you won't have to log into Airbnb. You can manage the updated reservation within ResNexus. That's one of the major benefits we have, that you can manage your marketing channels all in the same place, and any changes you make are reflected in those OTAs. All right, and then we just had a couple more questions. Another one is about how ResNexus yield management interacts with Airbnb Direct Connect discounts. So supposing you have a yield management rule in place to lower the rates for last-minute bookings, and you also have an Airbnb last-minute discount, then yes, both would apply to the same reservation for a larger discount. So that's something you want to be aware of. If you use both yield management and Airbnb discounting, then you can have a yield management rule overlap with an Airbnb discount if they both apply to the same listing. And then finally, our last question was about sliding rates, where you can automatically discount reservations that are a specified length of time, such as like 7 or more days, and whether that applies to Airbnb Direct Connect. And the answer is yes. If you have a sliding rate in place, then Airbnb would receive that rate from ResNexus. So again, if you don't want to discount twice, you would keep your sliding rate in place and not apply an Airbnb weekly stay discount, or vice versa if that's what you're looking for. All right, and I believe that's all the questions I had. I'm going to pass it back over to Rebecca to answer some Airbnb questions.
Great, thank you, Gavin. Yeah, before we end today, I wanted to address some of the Airbnb specific questions you submitted when you registered. And again, if you have additional questions on these or any other topics after this presentation, you can email them to resnexus-webinars@airbnb.com. Okay, first question. Similar to what Gavin was just speaking about, someone had asked, as hosts on Airbnb, can we list individual rooms and can we select rooms we want to list? And the answer is yes, absolutely. As Gavin also explained, you can list multiple rooms at one location by creating a separate listing for each space you have available. You'll just want to be sure that for each room, you accurately reflect the number of beds and the amenities, as well as what space or spaces will be shared with others, if any. Another question was, what % does Airbnb charge to use the platform? And this is a good and a popular question. And as you may know, to help Airbnb run smoothly and to cover the cost of services like 24/7 customer support, we do charge a service fee when a booking is confirmed. And there's actually two different fee structures for stays, a split fee and a host-only fee. The split fee structure, that's hard to say, is the most common and is split between the host and the guest. Most hosts pay a 3% fee, and this fee is calculated from the booking subtotal and automatically deducted from the host payout. And FYI, the booking subtotal consists of the nightly rate plus the cleaning fee, plus additional guest fees if applicable, but excludes Airbnb fees and taxes. And just so you know, most guest service fees are under 14.2% of the booking subtotal. And this fee varies based upon a variety of factors, but is shown during checkout before a guest books so they know what to expect. With the host-only fee structure, it's just like it sounds. The entire fee is deducted from the host payout, and it's typically 14 to 16%. The next question we received was regarding pet fees. And one attendee had asked or had stated, some people stay a week at a time, but others just one night. Airbnb doesn't allow you to enter the pet fee as a per night charge. Can this be changed? So for those of you who may not be aware, you can now add a pet fee to your pricing. If you choose to charge a pet fee, it'll be spread out equally over the course of the stay and shown both as part of the nightly rate and in the total price at checkout. Guests can now also say how many pets that they'll plan to bring from 0 to 5, which you as a host can review. So if you previously selected no pets allowed, but now want to include a pet fee, you'll get a message explaining that your listing will be changed to pets allowed. And you can charge a pet fee per pet or a flat fee, as the attendee who asked the question mentioned, and that covers all the pets. But remember, your pet fee can't be more than your nightly base rate. So back to the original question, and I'd like to thank the attendee who asked about the ability to enter a fee as a nightly rate. And I just wanted to let you know that I'll happily provide this feedback to our product team. And then last question, which I think a couple of people had asked, was how are local tourism taxes paid? Well, so we have thorough resources available on Airbnb that address this topic, as it varies based upon the listing's jurisdiction. So what I would recommend doing is going to the Help Center on Airbnb and simply searching occupancy taxes in the Help Center, and look in particular for an article titled, How Does Occupancy Tax Collection and Remittance by Airbnb Work? And there are tons of details in that article and in articles that link off from there. So that is it for today. I'd like to thank you all so very much for attending. And again, if you have any additional questions regarding anything that we covered today, or any of the Q&A that we've just gone through, remember, you can simply email us at nammer-webinars@airbnb.com. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Gavin.
Yes, thank you very much, Rebecca. And thanks everyone for attending. And like I said, you can contact that email address for questions at Airbnb. For ResNexus, you can go to support@resnexus.com or sales@resnexus.com.